Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, here comes the host of The Edge of Liberty, full of sarcasm, bourbon, truth, and devoid of the need to say the letter R.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast live. Best place to chat, as always, is to go to YouTube. Click on the live chat. Just search SHR Media. If you're watching this, you're probably already there. But if you're not, look for that logo. Show a little circle right now. It says live. Click on that. It'll open up this video. And you can get in the chat room where Mike and BZ already are. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. That was quick. Got a lot to talk about this evening. New beard, old Pete. Some Facebook chatters. Hey. Colorado is just trying to be California. California continues to be California. A couple of quick hits I'll get to. Once again, if you're on Facebook, I can never see your name. It doesn't send it over to me, so I apologize. Mission Ready Men is in with us. Good evening. And if you're coming over from Chat Lives Matter on our good friends KLRN, who simulcasts us, welcome, welcome. You can always hit that subscribe button and the like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 500. We get to 500, opens up the taps a little bit more with the algorithm, helps us out quite a bit. BZ pushed the limits last night. He got a whole bunch of people came in to see, so that was a lot of fun. The more people that flood the room at the beginning of the show on YouTube, the more it puts it in front of other people to come over and watch. Lost Wanderers in the chat room. Good evening, sir. So I want to start off with this. Jake Tapper gaslighting America on what Jake Tapper used to gaslight America with. Hey, Isaac's in the chat room. My good pal Isaac. Thank you very much, Isaac. So Original Sin's coming out. This book that Jake Tapper and some other weenie wrote. I have no idea. I forget the guy's name. I have it here somewhere. And essentially, this is the book that is trying to rewrite the history of how the media treated the Biden decline. We all saw it. I mean, the first time he ran, we all knew that there was something wrong with him. Hey, Ricky's in the chat room. Ricky Robinson, thank you so much, sir. We all knew something was wrong with him, and we were calling him out. There's a reason they hit him. There was a reason it was an underground campaign, a basement campaign. And you saw it when he was tripping over things and stumbling, and you would get videos like this. Where is it? Because this is one I think summed up Joe Biden's entire presidency. It's definitely going to be one of those nights, I think, where I stutter quite a bit. And I have no reason why. I'm not Joe Biden. Remember that? One more time. That's what they were trying to tell us, that Joe is just fine. And we talked about this a million times. But this book coming out is different, because what this book is trying to do is say to you, hey, wait a minute. We were tricked too. Everything that the media was saying for the last 4.5 years, we didn't know. We were such terrible journalists that we couldn't figure out something was wrong with Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, they were defending him. My pardon. They were defending him the entire time. Oh, he's sharp as a tack. He's running circles around everyone. Yada, 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 yada. Oh, thank you, KLRN, for leaving 714 viewers here for me to watch on your site. I do appreciate that. They were saying things like this. This is Lara Trump on with Jake Tapper himself a couple of years ago, telling us and scolding her for suggesting that something was wrong with Joe Biden. This is on CNN.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to
no.
watch somebody on stage
That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering,
mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have
is
one last question for you, Laura.
You can't times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay,
that is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for.
That was during the first campaign, the basement campaign. Lara Trump was 100% right. Look, hey, B's in the chat room. B, thank you so much for joining us this evening. That was Jake Tapper giving a full-throated defense to Joe Biden. Now, at that point, he was already stumbling. He was already mincing his words. He was always losing track of where he was, not getting the right city. Remember, he did that. Saying words like, children have to under the pressure. Right? And they were telling us he was fine. And then what happened? He got sworn in, and 2 days later, he tripped falling up the stairs at Air Force One. Right? He then told a dead person to stand up in a meeting, a representative who died like 6 years ago. We all knew it. Everybody fucking knew it. It wasn't hard to see. The only thing that really made it questionable was the media defending him in situations like that. And that wasn't the only one. So as you get into this book, I say as we get into this book, I should probably get on the right page of my notes. I was reading through them at the beginning. Oh, here we go. Oh, boy. Sorry. So now we get into this book, and Jake Tapper is telling us that his entire inner circle, Biden's whole inner circle, knew something was wrong. The outer circle knew something was wrong. The faraway circle, every fucking human being knew something was wrong. There are people alleging that there are some points he needed a wheelchair to get around. People pushed him around in a wheelchair. Remember they told you it was his gait? He had a really stiff gait. Remember that? That was like the big medical reason why he was walking funny. Oh, he's got a stiffening gait. But they couldn't explain why he would forget where he was. And the media, I mean, when I say full-throated protection, it wasn't Jake Tapper. It was everyone on CNN, MSNBC, all of the other leftist rags. All they did was tell us and gaslight or try to gaslight into saying that Biden was totally fine. As I said before, even after the debate, they tried to do it. The governors went to meet him after the debate. Tim Walz was one of them. They came out to the press conference. Yep, he's still fine. He's still perfect. B brings up a good point. In the book, he reveals that Biden napped through the 2024 debate prep, which we knew. We were told that almost immediately afterwards, because immediately after he dropped out of the campaign is when all of this started. They started to actually admit to it. Why? Because they had to actually cover the reason why they pulled him and ran Kamala. She was forced into action, so to speak. That's how they framed it. When George Clooney suggested, he wrote that op-ed suggesting that Biden get out of the way, they explained in this book that was because even though Biden had met George Clooney several times and knew who he was, I mean, most Americans know who George Clooney is, even if you don't like him. Alex Thompson, that's the other writer. At the event where George Clooney was one of the headliners, put it together, it was a fundraiser. It's the event where Obama had to walk him off the stage so he didn't just go head first into the ground. He went backstage, shook hands with George Clooney, no clue who he was. Clooney admitted that in an interview with Tapper, that Biden had no idea who he was. And the media is trying to tell you, we didn't know. We had no idea. There were secretaries who they're citing in the book. Now, by the way, none of these secretaries would dare put their name to it, which is even funnier because even now they're still afraid of the DNZ. According to Alex Thompson's tweets today, one of the secretaries said, for months, we didn't have access to him. There was clearly a deliberate strategy by the White House to have him meet with as few people necessary. Well, yeah, that's how he ran his campaign too. Another one said at one rare meeting during his time as secretary, he was shocked by how the president was acting. He seemed disorientated and out of it, his mouth agape, according to the book. Secretary added that Biden's staff wanted to keep him happy and shielded from the bad news. Yes, because he was an old, confused man who was thinking he was president when he wasn't. Right? You don't want him to go out there. It's like the fucking knitting class in old folks' homes, right? So even though everything else is garbage, when people come to see him, they're like, no, it's great. I get to knit and have pudding. That's what they were doing. They were gaslighting him. And it didn't matter because, as I said before, he wasn't running the country, which is the bigger issue in all of this. It's the biggest issue. He was not in charge. He was not mentally competent enough to be in charge. So who was making the goddamn decisions? I want an actual answer. I know my hypothesis. It was Jill and a cabal. They were all making the decisions. But I want one of these so-called secretaries to come out and say, oh yeah, person X, Y, and Z was the one really calling the shots the whole time. And it brings up the issue of an unelected bureaucrat running the United States of America, completely sidestepping our Constitution and our way of life and how our republic works. If he was that bad, they should have 25th him. Plain and simple. That's what it's there for. That's an actual reason. Secretary number 3, I don't think he had dementia, but the thing is, he's an old man. The president gave 4 to 6 good hours a day. When he got tired, sloppy isn't the right word, but his guard was down. 4 to 6 hours. Oh, try doing that at work. Try giving a solid 4 hours at work and then being like, now my guard's going to be down for the rest of the day. I just can't do it. It's absolutely frightening to me. You remember the Her report? What did Her describe him as? An old man who is forgetful, right? There's a reason they wouldn't release the Her report, because it was backing up what we were all saying. And remember, at that point, he was still running. A Biden spokesperson who declined to be identified by CNN says, we continue to await anything that shows where Joe Biden had to make a presidential decision or where national security was threatened or where he was unable to do his job. In fact, the evidence points to the opposite. He was very effective. No, it doesn't. It doesn't point to that because there's no absolute zero evidence that he was running the country. None. because of everything that they're saying, compiled with everything that we saw, compiled with just seeing how Joe was unable to form words at certain times. What makes you think he was running the country? And I'll be honest, we were friggin' lucky as a country. Nothing happened past 4 p.m. We were lucky. Because can you imagine if there was an actual tragedy? And yes, Russia invading Ukraine was a horrible thing. But God forbid a 9/11 style attack or something like that. This guy was out of it. He was cooked. And it's so bad that they know history is going to be so dark and poor and horrible for Biden that they're writing this book. Jake Tapper is carrying everybody's water, writing this book to rewrite history. They gaslit you through the entire presidency that he was fine. Now they're trying to gaslight you that they were just such terrible fucking journalists that they got gaslit by the administration. And nobody believes it. People are going to buy this book because it's Jake Tapper and CNN, which is just sad and pathetic. I wish this book would bomb because everybody already knows what the outcome is. We didn't need secretaries to be unnamed to say that he was in decline. You think back, you go back, you do the research from the time he announced he was running for president. Do the research all the way forward and watch. He was never, ever on his game. He was a mess. And we would say it and get called tinfoil hat wearers, ageists, all these. Well, you don't have a medical license. Look, I'm not a fucking firefighter, but I know if I look across the street and there's smoke and flames coming out of the house, it's probably on fire. You don't need to have a medical degree to show the obvious, and not gingerly walking down a wet metal ramp so you don't slip obvious. Forgetting what city you're in obvious. Having a debate where you are so far out of it. The girl on the debate, I forget her name, was pointing to her partner who was asking the question for Joe to answer to. They were helping him through the debate. And he still was a hot, flaming bag of ass. It's unbelievable. Jake Tapper said in 2020, there's no real evidence that Joe Biden is mentally fit. They were all saying words like sharp, energized, fit for office. And it's a giant gaslight. It's a psyop. And it's not a psyop for any other reason than to protect media legacy. That's what this comes down to. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about Biden. They don't give a shit that the country wasn't run for 4 years by an elected president. No. And not even the vice president, because she was not allowed near him either, if you remember. No. This is to gaslight you into thinking media is trustworthy. And they're not. It's proven time and again, proven. The question is, will America take the bait on this? I think not. I think no matter what, people saw what they saw. And it's insane. And then even today, I mean, let's see. Where's my favorite meat puppet? Because he's back on CNN. Here it is. This will be the last video and I'll move on. But this is Brian Stelter talking about it's so friggin' funny.
Jill Biden, the former first lady, seeming to intervene on his behalf in points during the conversation. Right. What do you make of the media strategy and how it's gone so far?
Biden being back on the public stage reminds people of what went wrong, and it doesn't negate what is in this explosive book. When you launch a book, the way Tapper and Thompson are doing next week, you come out with a first excerpt. So that first excerpt up on the New Yorker website right now, also available on CNN.com, it is very damning about what went wrong in 2023 and 2024. So to Jamal's point, I think there's an emerging conventional wisdom, an emerging narrative that the President Biden at the midterms in 2022 was a different person than the Biden in the summer and fall.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. First of all, If you've turned on CNN at all in the last couple of days, it's just a giant Jake Tapper book commercial, Original Sin book commercial. But you see what he said there? Oh, starting in the midterms. That's when it really started to show. That's when you could start to see the decline of Biden. Bullshit. And this is, they're all, I said this on air, I said this in X, I've said this everywhere. They're all trying to rewrite history to be on the right side of it. And don't fall for it. It's just sad and pathetic. Speaking of the old administration, hey, you remember Mayor Pete? Sure you do. He looks like this guy now. It's not the same one he did look like, but he all of a sudden, well, he's trying to J.D. Vance it.
One, that these cuts are wrong, and two, that these cuts are unpopular. Unfortunately, they might actually care more about the fact that they're unpopular than the fact that they're wrong. Since they're both, this is an opportunity to get their attention. We're all here for this town hall. I can't help but notice that I'm not even elected official or running for anything. I'm here. I can't help but notice a lot of people.
You're running for something. You're running for something. Let's just stop right there. I will tell you right now, he's trying to rebrand himself, almost like J.D. Vance did, grow the beard, the ties off. Look, the sleeves are rolled up. He's trying to do that. I mean, I'm an everyday dude, right? Worst secretary of anything, by the way, right? But he's back in Iowa. Why Iowa? Well, he did okay in the DNC primary in Iowa. I think he came in second or third or something like that. And he even said at the beginning of the speech, it feels really good to be back in Iowa. There, he's running. Him and Gavin are both running. I talked about that the other night. Gavin's 100% running. The whole reason they're trying to get Kamala to run for governor of California is because she's almost a shoo-in with the amount of liberals here. And then that locks her up so Gavin can run and there's no contention. There's no headbutting. Pete's running. 100% running. And it's a box checked, right? First gay president. That's going to be like, they won't ever say that, but that will be the underlying feeling of his entire campaign. Does he have the staying power to actually knock Newsom out? No. Would he be a really good politically vice president candidate as far as becoming the DNC nominee? Yes. For their sake, not for the country's sake, but for their sake. Why? Like Kamala, he checks the box. Do you see a trend with Democrats? You see a trend? They love checking boxes. And Pete's going to be a box to check. There's no question in my mind. One of his quotes, he said, there's a theory that we should just hang back and let them screw up. I disagree. Well, Pete, pal, look, it's almost poetic that you show up 2 days after Secretary Duffy slams you entirely and the Biden administration for what our air traffic controller have to deal with and how old our air traffic system is. That's the Buttigieg legacy. You own that. You were the last one there. You could have fixed it, but you didn't. It's like the potholes when you were mayor. That's why you have the nickname Pothole Pete. It's like when you didn't go to the train disaster in Ohio, East Palestine, right? You showed up weeks later after everybody was screaming for you to show up. But that's who Pete is. That's who he's going to be. He's got this new look. He's got a little bit of a chip in his voice. Like he's not that as monotone, soft-spoken. So he's been dialect coaching. He's been studying up. He's been working on his presentation. He's a little bit older. He's letting a little bit of that gray show in the beard. He's doing all the things to Pete's running in 2028. I'm telling you that right now. Him and Gavin are running in 2028. Those are the first two to unofficially declare, but I'm declaring it for him. He's not just there for the corn dogs, folks. Oh man, I'm afraid to show anything that comes out of the chat room now. A couple more things to talk about. This thing popped up today. And I wasn't going to talk about it because I didn't do a lot of research on it, but we got a release from Doge about more U.S. USAID spending. Do you remember the $4.4 billion in 2010 that was sent to Haiti? Isaac says, Pete won't stand a chance to Newsom's political morph as a moderate. God forbid if anybody falls for it. No, he talked about that a lot Monday night, and I'm going to talk about that again in a little bit. Newsom is trying to rewrite who he is, and I'm going to cover that here shortly. Before we go to the break, let me talk about Haiti. $4.4 billion. Out of that $4.4 billion in U.S. aid, only 3%, and this is a Doge report, only 3% reached the actual Haitians. 56% went to Beltway contractors, DC contractors. Company called Chemonics took $196 million. Nobody has any idea what they did or built. $170 million for a port that was never completed or built. I think they started it, is what they said. $97 million for a power plant that's not at all used. $4.4 billion and 3%. Someone do the math. I don't know what 3% of $4.4 billion is, but I can tell you it's not a lot of money in that regard. Comparatively speaking, it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money for you and I. Yeah, we could probably do a hell of a lot with it. The Haitian people didn't. And I guess, I don't know. I guess given the current state of Haiti, it's better that we didn't send the money over there, but now I want to know where the hell all the money went. If you're still not following, Haiti's still a shit show. 100% shit show in that country. Has been for years. But USAID, $4.4 billion. And then they want to bitch and moan about Doge. And this is why. 56% going to contractors. That's what, $2.6 billion just to contractors who did nothing. Nothing. Money, your tax money, my tax money, just given away. Even your percentage of that $4.4 billion would probably get you a gallon of gas or something like that, right? You could have used it better than what our government did. Why? Because bureaucrats do what bureaucrats do. They take government money, i.e. taxpayer money, and they hand it out to their friends and make them rich. Doge is exposing that. And now you have members of Congress saying that Elon Musk and Doge should be arrested. The fear is amazing. It's delicious. I love it. I absolutely fucking adore it. I love watching them scramble. And you notice it's funny, after USAID got shut down and all the exposing about, where they were spending their money, you notice how the protests against Doge have almost gone away completely? Have you noticed that? Have you seen, other than the occasional politician that says something, hey, cheaters in the chat room, other than the occasional politician that says Doge sucks because X, Y, and Z, and they're all leftist politicians, you'll notice since USAID went away, all of these protests have utterly disappeared. They still hate Elon Trump, and they've had a couple anti-Tesla things that not nearly the numbers they had. BZ in the chat room says, Haiti borders the Dominican Republic, which is 200% paradoxical improvement over Haiti. Yep. The Haiti shithole. Cheater in the chat says, there's still a large number of voters who will fall for literally anything. Sadly, you're 100% correct. And BZ agrees, as do I. And that's the problem we have in this country. Not enough people will do their research. Not enough people will do their homework. And not enough people believe their own intuition over what media and Democrat politicians will tell them is true. Like I said, it boggles my mind how truth has become malleable and is no longer fact-based. Truth is, and I've said this before, truth is whatever they get you to believe is true, right? I mean, it's not in reality, but today, how it's applied, it's what they get you to believe versus what is steeped in facts. And if there's one thing the Democrats hate, if there's one thing the left hates, it's facts, because it's like their fucking kryptonite. It kills them. Facts are the worst thing in the world to them, and that's why they never, ever deal in facts. I take a break. When we come back, move on to Colorado. Colorado, sorry guys, Colorado's just gone. Colorado's trying to be California, and it's just really doing a great job of trying to be California. Listen, if you're watching, if you like it, please do me a favor. Like the channel. It's like a little tip. The show costs you nothing. So just hit that little like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Be back.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. She just says, why Tampa Book is such a slap in the face, phony outrage against something that they were complicit in to cover their own asses. Make a few dollars or rewrite their own personal history 100%. I think Biden was, oh yeah. Well, I mean, Cheetah, you go back to the Biden years, and the problem is Joe's one of those people, it's hard to tell when he was in decline when it first started because he was a gaffe machine all the time, right? He always said bombastic, crazy things. He always did kind of weird things. I mean, the hugging, the touching, the weirdness with kids, right? That was odd. Everyone knew that was odd. You go into some of the things he said. Remember the interview? You can't go into a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts without getting an Indian accent. Ha, ha, ha. So it's hard to tell when he was Joe Biden just being Joe Biden or when he was starting to lose his shit. Story I wanted to cover out of Colorado because this is the problem when you start adapting. And look, Colorado's fucking lost, man. Colorado is just becoming the middle America, if you will, of California. Most of us in decline since Obama. This is true. They're anti-gun laws, they're liberal values, and now starting to sound like Soros DAs are in charge. In Aurora, Colorado, there was a car accident where a young woman, a teenage girl, was killed. A 16-year-old illegal immigrant not driving 90 miles an hour without a license. Killed her, hit her and killed her, caused an accident. Terrible, right? 16 years old, driving to endanger, operating unsafely, operating unlicensed. I don't know if he had permission of the car. It doesn't say that in the notes. Struck and killed a girl. 16. Most states should be charged as an adult, right? You should know better. Not in Colorado. As a matter of fact, the Aurora DA offered a plea deal with probation and community service. Seen as Probation and community service was the plea deal offered for an illegal who killed an American driving 90 miles an hour without a license. Do you see what an unbelievable... First of all, if that was me, holy shit, right? They'd draw and quarter me right in court. Even if I was sober and my license was good, if I was just driving recklessly and somebody died, right to the gulag. Done. No questions asked. Illegal. And all of a sudden it's probation and community service. Was it an accident? Sure. But an accident does not necessarily mean that you get out of all responsibility. An accident is an accident. I understand that. But you own certain responsibilities when there is no other mitigating factor than the fact that you were just driving like an asshole. I say this before, and I've told this story several times. Someone very close to me was involved in an accident, just got the license, had a license. It was wet. They were in an extremely light pickup truck and slid through a stop sign and caused a wreck and somebody perished. And you better believe it was an accident. No alcohol on board, was paying attention, had the seatbelt on. They slid on wet leaves and fall, coming to a stop sign. Clipped somebody who was speeding, by the way. And you better believe they got probation and community service, but it wasn't a light probation and community service, right? And they did other things. But the difference is it's an American citizen who had a license and there was no other mitigating factor other than the wet leaves in his operation. The other car was speeding and both passengers were unseatbelted. So you can see at that point, an accident is an accident. There was no alcohol. There was no cell phones at the time. So he wasn't on cell phones. I mean, there were, but they were brick phones, right? And you got the same thing as the illegal who had no license driving 90 miles an hour and struck a girl. When we talk about two tiers of justice, it's things like this. It is things like this. I'm not saying that he should have been marched right to the gas chamber for an accident, but probation and community service? How is that justice? How is that treating somebody fairly when you bring up the victim's family into this? If you were that victim's family, would you think that was justice? And there's so many other cases like this across the country where certain groups get off on these ridiculous light sentences, and then usually it's working class people get railroaded and ramrodded for doing the same things. It's absolutely horrible, and I'm disgusted by the criminal justice system in Aurora, Colorado. I spoke about how Colorado wants to be California's too many C words. Well, now California is being California. So Governor Newsom realized, hey, there's a gigantic budget crisis in California. Why? Well, 10 years ago, we had a $208 billion budget. And over 10 years, we now have a $322 billion proposed budget. That is what, 16? Correct me. $114 billion increase in 10 years. And one of the things that was the biggest expenditure this last year, I think it was $4 billion in healthcare for illegals. $4 billion. The budget's going to come up $10 billion short. And he's blaming Trump. He's blaming tariffs. That's the reason they're not going to have the money. You look at Medi-Cal, they ran $2.7 billion over last year and 6.2 short for money for the coming year. That's how much short they're going to be. The statewide deficit is predicted to be $10 billion. As I said, Trump era tariffs, he is blaming for $16 billion in lost revenue. He hasn't, by the way, he was asked about that and he couldn't say where that was specifically. He was just saying it's because of the Trump tariff. Isn't that amazing? I wish at any point in my job, I could say, I didn't do a good job because of the person sitting across from me. Well, what did they do specifically? It's just their fault. And that's exactly what Newsom did here. Oh, it's the tariffs is the reason. First of all, the tariffs just started, what, a month and a half ago? You knew what your budget was going to be well before a month and a half ago. You were already building it because you're a governor of an enormous economy. And as Isaac brought up earlier, and I've brought up numerous times, he keeps trying to come back towards the middle. And I'm going to beat on this because I'll tell you something right now, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. Gavin Newsom's probably the most dangerous politician that he's trying to be dangerous, I should say. He's dangerous. And why is he dangerous? Because Kamala showed us who she was, right? Huge, super progressive, not very bright, and did exactly what they told her to do until she became the nominee. Then she didn't listen to a damn thing anyone said because she thought she was smart enough to figure it out on her own. Biden, we all know what Biden is, and Biden was. Gavin Newsom's a different breed of animal when you look at Democratic politicians. He has been slime from day one, from his time as a mayor right up till he became the governor. He was always sleazy. He was always grimy. He could always wiggle his way in and out of trouble. Look, I mean, like I said before, the guy admitted to hooking up with his campaign chair's wife. By the way, the campaign chair was his best friend, and got away with it and still got elected like it was nothing. He's not a chameleon. Chameleons are cute. He's a demonic shapeshifter. He's God. He is the consummate politician, and I don't mean that as a compliment. His big thing right now in the state is, we have to clean up homelessness. Why? Because when he runs in a couple of years, he wants to say he cleaned up homelessness. He's been saying this for the whole 10 years that he's been in office and has spent, I think, what was it, 20 billion, something like that, on homelessness, only for it to get worse. Then they hid behind the Grants Pass decision with SCOTUS. Well, we can't do anything about the homeless camps and yada, 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 because Grants Pass. And then Grants Pass got overturned, and he was like, we're going to do something. He got a couple of videos of himself ripping down homeless encampments, and then everything went back to status quo. The most cleanup that he did for homeless is when Xi Jinping came to visit San Francisco, and he wiped the streets clear of homeless to make it pretty. It was the nicest San Francisco's looked in years for the Chinese president, of course. And then he comes out and he's now giving speeches like this. Watch this. This is just, if you don't think this all isn't acting, you're absolutely crazy.
And I'm just, on behalf of the taxpayers of the state, in the spirit of Ashley's question, I'm not interested. I'm just not, as a taxpayer, not just governor, I'm not interested in funding failure anymore. I'm not. I won't. Time to do your job. People are dying on their watch.
First of all, people have been dying on the streets the entire time you were in office, Gavin. The entire time. We were telling you about it. The drug overdoses, the fentanyl crisis, people just dying accidentally that were on the street. Like all of these different things. There were babies being born in the street. We've been screaming it in this state for fucking years. And you did nothing about it. But now you want to go across the country and sit in the big seat in Washington. All of a sudden, you have a backbone and you give a shit. Whoop. There it is.
How do people get reelected? Look at these encampments. They're a disgrace. They've been there years and years and years and years. I've heard that same rhetoric for years. People are dying.
How do people get elected? How do they get reelected on this? You did. So apparently it's not fucking hard. Part of that's because you're a D in California, and no matter what, the voters love the D here, and they'll vote for it all day long. They don't give a shit what you say, what you do. I'll tell you right now, Newsom could go out and barbecue live kittens on television, and there would still be people that would vote for him all day long. We are the most taxed state in the union. We have fees and taxes everywhere you look. The cost of living is out of control. The roads are a mess. The infrastructure is a mess. Homeless problems are a mess. We have fires like crazy because you refuse to cull the forest appropriately. You are a horrific, horrible, shitty leader, and you got reelected. If that doesn't answer your question, nothing will. But I'll let Gavin continue because this is adorable.
Kids are being born. Overdoses. I met a young man, literally, was out there doing Project Homeless Connect, reaching out near the 405 freeway. I found out the next day he was dead. In the name of compassion, because we had a notice. I could have helped him that night. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I let him down. We got to be more aggressive. I saw a young child, a young kid in San Diego.
BZ's comment just reminded me, I forget which, it might have been The Simpsons and it might have been Family Guy or whatever, but at one point they're putting up no, I think it was The Office. Yeah, it was The Office, where it said like a wanted madman, and it was Dwight putting up the drawing of that somebody described of the madman, and it was Dwight. This is exactly Newsom right now. Just like BZ said, he's a good guy because he wants to investigate whomever is responsible for California being in the shitta. And it's him. He's one of the biggest problems. Yeah, Moonbeam was a problem. Don't get me wrong. Jerry Brown sucked. Gavin Newsom took suck and found a way to multiply it by 20. He has single-handedly done more damage to this state than anyone else has. Gas is out of control because of their policies, and he let them run wild until he saw Kamala getting her ass kicked. And then all of a sudden, he's trying to change his tunes. He went from, I have zero issue with men being in women's sports in the state, to now there's an issue. He went from, we're going to pour all of this money into homelessness in California. You did, except all of those NGOs that you gave money to, those nonprofits, they were all run by your friends and they got huge salaries. It's going to be like Haiti was. All of this money went to homeless. None of it actually did anything for the homeless. It just went to offices and salaries and all this other bullshit. But he's going to come out here and now act like he's mad, banging the table, talking about somebody has to be held responsible. It's you. It's plain and simple, Gavin. It's you.
Diego was with the mayor of San Diego right before his State of the State. This poor kid was addicted to meth. He was a wonderful kid. And he said, I'm really glad you came. He goes, I'm struggling. And there in the tent with his wife was a newborn baby. He said, thank you for coming. There's no compassion in denying what the hell's going on in the streets and sidewalks. They need to step up. Enough of the rhetoric. I'm serious. Enough of the rhetoric. People are dying in this state. It is a disgrace.
It is and calling it rhetoric when he was the worst. He's the they. He's the they, them in this. Maybe that'll help Democrats understand. If I explain, he's the they, them in this.
One of the principal reasons people are so angry, they don't trust politicians. They don't like what they see.
Because of you. Everyone sees what you are.
I'm sorry to get so intense about it.
Oh,
it's a moral issue. They need to do their job.
The marital, but this
and if they can't do it,
sorry if it comes off that way. Give the governor a arm. Do you buy anything that Gavin's saying at all? No, of course you don't. Of course you don't. You notice he takes zero responsibility for any of it. And he's got a history of doing that because this was him. I think this is the same press conference. It might be a different one, but yesterday, when he's talking about the economic destruction of California that I spoke about earlier.
That said, we'll live in Plato's Republic. California is under assault. The United States of America, in many respects, is under assault because we have a president that's been reckless in terms of assaulting those growth engines. Has created a climate of deep uncertainty and certainly has California in his sights. You can. That said,
I love
we don't live in Plato's Republic. California is under assault. The United States of America, in many respects, is under.
I know you don't believe this. This is the problem with this. This is the problem with asking rhetorical questions to leaders. like Gavin Newsom. He knows that Trump has the tariffs have nothing to do with the gap in money needed for what California has in the budget. How about this? Have you ever thought about maybe cutting 10 billion out somehow? I mean, you did, because now you're trying to kick the illegals in the state that you welcomed on to Medicare off of it, off of it. You want to charge them a monthly, which, by the way, they want to charge. This is amazing. How do they want to help fix this budget gap? Plain and simple. They want to charge the illegals $100 a month to be on Medi-Cal. Folks, do any of you get your medical insurance for $100? By the way, remember, we're required to have it by law because of Obamacare, which destroyed the healthcare system in this country. That's not even a question anymore. It's not a debate anymore. It absolutely destroyed the healthcare system in this country. It overburdened. It's just unbelievably horrible. But with your government forced healthcare that you're required to have, or you get fined, even though it's not a fine, but it is. Do you get away with it for $100? On what planet? But if you're an illegal, you get it for $100. And I am, gentlemen and lady, I am reading the chat. I'm trying to keep up with you. They need to publish split screens to do some debating himself, make Kamala's fracking views look subtle in comparison. Yeah, Cheetah's 100% right. And Lost Wonder said, dude using a touch of gray. He's always had that little gray hint. And he's the absolute worst politician. And again, he's really good at it, but he's terrible in action. He's terrible for people. He's terrible for budget. I mean, you look at what they're doing with the fuel companies alone and the amount of regulation they put on them that's driving up the price in California. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about you. I've said this before. California is the perfect example of, do you remember the Matrix, where they were just sucking all of the life force and energy out of humans that were in these pods? Right? They were essentially using them like batteries. That's the perfect metaphor for California government and taxpayer money. They don't care about the people in this state. Gavin can go up there and bang that desk a million times over and act like he cares suddenly. No, dude, you're just trying to run for president. We all know that. So you're acting like a centrist right now. But the simple fact of the matter is, they don't care about anything. I've been slimed. We've all been slimed. And he is, I'll tell you, I know people that work in and around him. He is worse in person than he is on TV. What do I got? 7 minutes left. I got a couple more stories. Oh, man. So much, so little time. I keep saying I might do like change this to a 90-minute show at some point, but I just don't know if I have the energy to do that. Let's see. Do I go home to Boston or I'll finish in Boston. By the way, when I say all Democrats are useless, that doesn't mean that every once in a while they don't see the writing on the wall and they're not smart enough to jump on something. Ro Khanna put out that he's introducing legislation to codify President Trump's executive order on drug companies. So he's trying to codify it. Is it because he cares? No, it's because it looks good for him. And Ro Khanna is a crafty politician. He's a little slimy. He's a Democrat. But he's very crafty. He knows when to jump onto a subject and what side of it to jump on. So it'll be interesting to see if that gains speed. Mayor Wu, I want to go. I want to go to Representative Shri Thanedar, who is mocked and criticized. You remember him. He was the Muppet that came out and ran for the House of Representatives and somehow got elected. And now he is trying to file articles of impeachment, which, by the way, they failed today against Trump. He's really, really upset that people are mocking him. Now, it's not because he's had enough plastic surgery that Michael Jackson would be like, hey, dude, you need to lay off. It's not because he's looks like he's wearing a wig that he bought out of, I don't know, some costume shop at the mall. And it's not that he sounds like a Muppet, not his accent, just his voice. Oh, and don't forget that he ran a biotech company that when it went under, all the animals that they were testing on were left to just die. Roconner's like a game of Frogger. He knows when to jump and not get plowed by a car. 100%. He's crafty. There's no doubt in my mind, Lost Wanderer. He's crafty. But back to Representative Thanedar. He's really upset that we're mocking him. I put on his X today. I honestly thought you were a Muppet character until this very moment. Like, he is the best fodder. And the fact that SNL didn't do shit with him shows you that they don't have balls. But here's him whining that people are, and again, not going after his topics. They're not arguing with him. He's not talking about anything like that. It's all personal. It's all because we're all bigots.
But they talk about my hair. They talk about my appearance. They talk about where I was born.
Lips and his eyebrows.
They talk about
look at that.
Everything, my looks.
They
talk about my age. They talk about
behind his head
why I should be deported back to the country where I was born. They talk about my past business dealings and they distort.
Yes, because your past business dealings was absolutely freaking horrific.
My business record. They do everything, but they.
What's even better about this is people voted for that. And I'm going to tell you something. I know he's a biotech guy and he's a moron. Like, if you hear his presentations and things that he talks about, he's kind of a moron and people voted for him. In the chat room, if you ask Rock to make a Muppet of him into a real character, yeah, it is. He's crafty, he's sleazy, he's crafty, and he knows where to go. He's crafty. Oh, I should have sang it. Good one, Rick. Talking about Rokana. And BZ, he's so weird. He's literally a parody of himself. He is. He is unbelievably odd. Unbelievably odd. Lost Wanderer, you're welcome. And it's not his accent. Like I said before, it's not his accent. It's just everything about him. His face, like I said, more plastic surgery than Michael Jackson. His hair looks like a helmet wig. It almost looks like if somebody put glued a wig onto a motorcycle helmet and then he put it on. Oh yeah, he's worse than Hank Johnson. He looks like he was made in a biotech lab. Yeah, he is worse than Hank Johnson. Mike in the chat. Hank Johnson, who you may or may not remember, was the guy who believed that if you put too many things on an island, i.e. Guam, it would actually tip over. So that's what Representative Thanedar is upset about. And you people for mocking him should feel so friggin' bad. How dare you? Finally, the last story out of Boston. Oh, yeah. This bitch, her name is Mayor Michelle Wu. She is absolutely terrible. She drags her child around as a prop. She's running the city that I grew up in and I used to love into the ground. She is, ultra anti-cop leftist. She's the one that a couple of months ago, a cop was in a pizza joint and a dude came in, tried to stab somebody who was off duty and he killed him. And she was apologized to the guy who got shot, his family. I did miss the Beastie Boys, Rick. I know you prompted me. So that's who Michelle Wu is. Well, she's not doing well politically. And what I mean is she's such a nightmare in Boston that she's absolutely getting destroyed by even her own people. And a lot of people are running for mayor against her. That's not normal in Boston. So normally Democrats in Boston, especially in the city of Boston, they don't run against each other. Usually they wait for somebody to start stepping down and then they'll run. They don't normally try to take somebody out. But there's 3 or 4 people right now who are prominent Democrats in Boston who have declared that they're going to run against her in the next election. John F. Houghton is one of them. He is a city attorney for the city of Boston. He has been there for about 20 years, and he announced that he is going to run for mayor. And then he was promptly suspended by the city of Boston. Because that right there just sums up who Michelle Wu is. She suspended her political opponent. Where have we seen that before? Trying to remove your political opponent and trying to destroy them. God, the Democrats just love to do that. Speaking of love to do that, I love to do this, but my time is up. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you guys. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. I always get it the wrong way. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Like the specific episode, even if you subscribed, it matters. It really does. I'll be back Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Make sure you check out everybody else here on SHR Media. Tuesday and Thursday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You get the BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Mission Ready Men every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 on the East Coast. And Monday and Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast, you have the Reaver of Common Sense. We do have a new show coming. You're going to hear more about that in the coming weeks. We're really excited to have it back. And also, our friends over at KLRN. I can't say enough about our friends over at KLRN and not just make fun of Rick. I mean, all of the folks over there are awesome, minus Rick. He's a pain in the ass, but you love him anyways. Thank you so much for simulcasting this show. It's been an honor and a privilege. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Stay safe, stay smart, and enjoy your cocktails.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-585-81776. Your escape awaits.